Animations are a great way to explain what's going on. CueCam lets you bring in an animation and integrate it as a natural part of any presentation. So today I'm going to show you how I do that. Welcome to Squares TV App Lab number 80, where we talk about Video Pencil, Shoot and CueCam Presenter. This is a lab on After Hours and going out live on YouTube. And this week I'm going to be more upset than usual if we crash. So fingers crossed everything's good, because I did an awful lot on that at the end of last week. The advantage is if it does crash, I know exactly the one place to fix it rather than it could be any tangle of things. And hey, look at this. I've got a hash character in a title, which I had this stupid little bug that wasn't working, so I was just stripping them all out because in the source it starts. That's the sort of code for it. Anyway, let's see. I'm Michael Forrest. I make apps and other weird stuff like this. That's on my website, thismf.art. And first this week, we're going to talk updates. The new beta is out and there is just too much stuff to mention. So I thought we could have a quick look at the Discord. Where if we go to, let's just make this nice and big, if we go to the CueCam channel, I've got a lot of channels on here, we can see everything that's changed. And I'm going to say, but before, let's just, I should be getting hey to Jeff and hey to hello in Chicago. So changes in CueCam beta. So I'll just go through these. There's so many. When you drag in multiple images or videos, they come in the right order always. There was some crashes when editing text, which should no longer happen. What if I do this? It doesn't get bigger. But what if I keep text on screen when writing something long. So if you, I think I will actually demonstrate this. So if we had like a load of cards and then I started typing a lot of text in, let's just, you see, it stays. It doesn't just like end up disappearing off the bottom like that. Like, oh, you can't see that. Let's just go desktop. Hey, look, it stays instead of. So look, I just went X, and if you're down the bottom now and you type some more stuff, it's going to stay and it's going to help you out. Just one of those tiny little things that was really annoying, really hard to figure out how to do as well. Given that the way I'm like having to do things. To make it work the way I want it to work. Some media ingestion. I'm having trouble saying my G's today. There's like the preferred headphone output is automatically unmuted when you plug it back in. When you can right click and paste from the video preview. So if you're in here, you can actually just paste an image there directly. If you it doesn't show the hidden cameras on Video Pencil, you can switch your CueCam camera from the iPad, but this lets you, it sort of like filters out the ones that you've filtered out on the Mac, which it did before. It fixes a problem where images can always be dropped onto cards. There's a more consistent undo behavior. Videos load more consistently, although actually the beta is a bit broken for videos. Loads of stuff I fixed, but then some initial setup is a bit wrong at the moment. So that I'll probably do another beta first thing tomorrow. Better layout with vertical video, less random white space, and better text selection when adding text from the menu. So if you've used these things and gone plus, give me bullet title that is selected. Yeah, so all the stuff it doesn't like make a load of random white space in there anymore. There's better drag and drop behavior, so you see, like, you can actually kind of see what's going to happen. And this was really complicated to do because this card is made of a nested text field, which sort of sits inside this. So it's easy to handle drags in sort of the outer bit, but I had to sort of do everything again for the inner bit. So when you drag it in the text field, it could either be an image that you're dragging in line, or it could be another card from the deck. And I had to put sort of a lot of the same logic that was in the outer thing into the text field as well, just to make that work consistently. We've got the delay calculator now just appears on the window that you added it in, which is just a nice little quality of life thing. So if we went to here, went calculate delay, it says get ready, you go clap, and then when it pops it up, it's just in one place instead of like every random window in the app, which that was just a little change. If there was audio feedback, if the CueCam window was shared. Bullet points, so this is kind of a good one. Like, bullet points no longer include the bullet text, like include an actual bullet point. So when you present a bullet point, they appear one at a time, but they no longer have like a little, one of these. What is it? 8. So now if you want a normal bullet point, you can put it in yourself, or you can put like anything. So I think that sort of makes bullet points a lot more fun. You can do a lot more different things with bullet points now. Better live camera text and image behavior, so adding real-time text and stuff. That was kind of a bit chaotic before. Fix a bug where bullet highlight, so like before when you did put an emoji in here, like the syntax highlighting would be off because Unicode. There's a better, what's that, deck editor preview. Yeah, improved editing experience when using the layout picker, so this sort of works a bit better. Avoid a situation, ensures Shoot stays connected when connected as a second camera. So if you exited out of Shoot and came back in, it could go missing. Keyboard navigation is better. Right, this is something that might not be obvious. If I'm in a card and I press Escape, I'm now able to go up and down between the cards. I'm able to shift select and I'm able to press delete. It's just going to make your life so much easier. And I've just put this subtle little affordance here. So if you're editing text, it looks like that. If you're sort of not editing text, if you're sort of in the outer zone, there's a little border that appears that just sort of lets you know. It's a super subtle thing, and I don't think you should need it, but I put it in for debugging, but I quite like that sort of just reassures you that what the keyboard's going to do. So if I'm here and I press delete, I'm going to delete text. If I press escape, I'm in that context, I press delete, it's going to delete the card. But undo is a lot more consistent as well. So if I add a card, undo, my cursor is back in the previous card, for example, and just all that stuff is feeling a lot more natural. The light box that lets me know where my head is. I am currently here and I can sort of see exactly where my head is. That's been improved a little bit. And I've got this stuff with the video being splittable across 2 cards, which I will talk a little bit more about as part of today's presentation. But I will warn you, I made some last minute changes to it this afternoon because it was feeling janky the way it was. Let's see. So I still want to see how much more I can improve performance and memory usage, and just like do another pass through my big checklist, which has like 80 items on it now, just quality control things that I've just got to make sure it all goes through, which just wasn't in place before. So I'm going to go through that again. I'm going to do a little bit of just making sure there's no terrible, like scrolling is a bit weird in the beta, but I did make some fixes to that this afternoon as well. But yeah, I'm hoping a proper release will be in the next few days. That's my hope. Although we're going to be in London on Saturday, coming back on Monday. So so hopefully Friday. We'll see. All right, so let's have a laughing baby break and then talk about animation. How good was that? I can't get him to do it usually, but he was up for it. Right, let's talk about animation. It's great, isn't it, animation? And there are lots of different ways to create animations. I was just going to go through some of my favourites today. So, if you have a lot of time on your hands, you could jump into After Effects. I do not particularly like After Effects. Back 10 years ago when I did learn to use it. I'm not bad in After Effects, but I just couldn't stand the kind of waiting for the RAM preview and just the non-real-time nature of it. And people tell me it's a bit more real-time now, but I don't think it's ever been... it's always been a bit annoying and a bit complicated and convoluted to use, I've found. And especially with Adobe's... I think their pricing model is pretty gross, and the recent stuff they were doing with privacy policy, where they popped up a thing where you had to agree to let them train their large language models on your data, on your private data, and there was no way to say no. and so you just couldn't get to your work, you couldn't get to your documents without agreeing to this really, like intrusive privacy thing. So a lot of people have jumped ship from Adobe. So watch out for, I used to make Flash websites as well, and they bought Macromedia, which it was back then, and I never, their focus was always on sending in suited consultants and never on improving the product, and I think that's sort of remained the same until today. So for complex projects, I tend to favour Apple Motion. There's not much you can't do with it, and integrates really well with Final Cut Pro, which I like because it lets me bring in segments of an animation into a bigger timeline and make adjustments to the published parameters inside Final Cut. And that means I don't have to wait for any renders, even when switching between the apps. So you can sort of publish different properties of your animation, bring it in as a generator into Final Cut, and actually sort of, I want to change the background color. Actually, I want to change some of this text, and you can do all that. And I find that really powerful, and that's tends to be how I work now. So here's sort of like roughly what that looks like. So you've got your layers, which is, I mean, the editing can be a bit finicky. And then you've sort of got your timeline down here. So it's all standard stuff, and I kind of like doing it with. You can either kind of animate keyframes, which I kind of hate, or you can have these little kind of animation things where you can say it's a ramp from a value 1 to value 2, and then you can sort of drag those around and make them longer and shorter, rather than sort of going in and editing keyframes, which I do not enjoy. And then I've sort of selected all my layers, and it is cool. Like you can kind of go into a 3D space. You can actually import like 3D models and stuff, and then in Final Cut, that's going to look like, so you're going to have your library. So when you create a new generator in Motion, you're going to have all your generators there. So you're going to be able to sort of like find all the different, sort of work on all the different bits in Motion, and then just like drag them onto your timeline. And the way I work is like, if I make changes to it, I'll just tend to, is my mic a bit hot? I keep seeing yellow. Oh yeah, it looks like it's a bit hot. Sorry about that. So that's a CueCam feature. It was putting a yellow border around my window to tell me that I was getting a bit too hot. And then so I just sort of like replace the layer. Sometimes I use titles if it's one that I'm going to want to reuse, a title transition. But then a lot of the time I'll just make the animation as a generator and kind of have versions of that. So that's how I do that. And then you get this. So I mean, although what I have not mentioned is that some of that 3D stuff was in Blender. So Blender is this uses Blender for the little that I've got the 3D models of all these tools, so I just brought them in. So and I did a little physics simulation on this guy. But Blender is not something I would really really wish on anyone. It's powerful, but I could not like. I literally read that entire manual because everything I expected it to do, I was always being flummoxed by it, and so I was like, well, I need to change I need to just adjust my expectations to being what they actually are. So that's what I ended up reading the whole manual, and now I can do some things without Googling it. I can do a lot of things without Googling it now, but for a long time I just had to Google every single thing. How do I change the size of that? Oh, you have to right click on that, and then you have to press S, and then you have to press this, and then you have to drag that, and it's like, oh, there's a tiny little nodule. Yeah, so Blender, I wouldn't, I'd probably avoid it. And then something I did want to talk about today, especially with like large language models being so prevalent now, is actually CSS animation is a really good way of animating, but it's code based. But I think a lot of the time I'll be trying to make a tool sort of animate something, and you'll sort of have a timeline, and you'll have your layers, and you'll be sort of like trying to get hold of these points and this and this and this, and you'll be dragging them, and you'll bodge it, and suddenly you'll have a weird spline, and it can get really messy. But what I like with code is you can just sort of say, okay, state A is this, state B is this, right? And then you can just like click your mouse in the browser window and have the animation, and then just like screen record that, and then the sort of I think it sort of gets the animations a lot more under control. So that's how I did this. So this is an SVG that I made into all sort of separate layers, and then as a CSS animation, because you can animate paths in CSS, that's how that gets revealed. It's just a CSS, which I will show you. Like so, so here's what it looks like in Sketch. So you can see my layers down there, and then I export that out as an SVG, which is it sort of looks like HTML kind of thing, but it's like for graphics. So you get path, like with all the data and stuff. And then, an animation might look something like this, where you've just got transition. It's stroke dash array dash offset. So if you have a long line and a long gap, but you can make it rotate around, and that sort of simulates. So what it thinks it's doing is it's got a dotted line, and it thinks it's animating sort of the phase of that. So it thinks it's going like rotating round to sort of do like a marching ants kind of thing, if that makes sense. But actually, if you sort of come up with the right parameters, it just looks like it's sort of drawing a stroke like that. Do you know, actually, like, come to think of it, another really quick way of getting an animation is just drawing something in Video Pencil and recording it. And actually, like, the easiest way to probably capture that at the moment, and actually, there is a thing in the new CueCam that it's potentially easier, but the way I've been doing it is just turning on the NDI output to Video Pencil, firing up NDI camera on my Mac, and then just screen recording that, hello, and that gives you a transparent video. But actually, the new CueCam there's an option to record separate layers, and you can get the Video Pencil layer, and that comes in as an HEVC, an H.265 transparent video. So then you just that, which you can just drop into Final Cut or whatever. So that's actually now the easiest way. So that's a bit of I should probably not have done that as a tangent, but if you want like a handwriting thing, literally Video Pencil and CueCam is a really good way of doing that. If you want to get, if you want to learn about CSS animation, there's so much information on the internet. So here's the sort of thing, like I wanted to find a website that sort of showed you all kinds of different things you might want to do. And what's cool about CSS animations is you don't I'm a massive programmer, so I've got my development environment, and I've got my website set up already. So if I want to add a bit where I can make animations, I can just add a new bit to my website. But actually, with tools like CodePen, you can let's go into it. Is it going to work? Yeah. So you see this animation here. Shall we try it? How do I make this bigger? What's this? Oh, I can load it on CodePen. Right. So you see what we get here is, if we want to. You see, someone's just published this animation that they made. It's these cubes kind of moving around, and we can see they've made a load of divs. They've just made a load of divs, and then they've styled each of those divs, and then they've sort of like, this is all CSS, yeah. So there's not even any JavaScript here. So this animation. And then what you could do is just like screen record that, and you got yourself a bit of an animation. And if you don't like the colors now, the cool thing here is, like, if you don't like the colors, you can just sort of try and find the colors. So we might, let's see if we can spot the color. I should have probably like planned something, but should we just search for color, or like fill or background? Okay, yeah, so they've got like a color variable here. So we could like if we switched red and blue, like, say, for example, and then reran it, it should change. Yeah, so it's now pulled purpley, and yeah, so you see that's made it a bit different. Or if we put the blue in the green column, this is not how you should do things, but yeah, it's sort of easy to. Come on. I didn't break anything then, but why is it not rerunning? Run, cancel. Yeah. Anyway, so you can sort of tinker with this stuff. It's giving me an error message. I must have like nudged something without realizing it. That should, does it want me to put 0.0? 0.0. Okay. Well, I broke that. Well, it's still going. Anyway, so yeah, like you can go onto a website like this and just find all sorts of examples, and so. Sort of just search for CSS animation graph, line graph, CSS animation, I don't know, like panda bear giving someone a hug. Like, you'll find this stuff, and you can just sort of like paste it into a CodePen, or it'll already have a CodePen, and you can just sort of like play with it and sort of come up with some pretty good animations without, just in your browser. And then if you want to get really advanced, you can go to Shader Toy, and this is sort of like GPU programming. So this gets a little bit more advanced. This should be, oh no, sorry. Let's just see if we can get that Shader Toy window to come up. Yeah, there we go. Is it not giving me my Shader Toy? Let's try it. So with Shader Toy, so this is actually how I did that intro animation, the Squares TV one. I just searched for like squares on here. I'm seeing if it seems like Shader Toy got slow at some point. So let's just see if we can. Okay, see if I can find. So I'm like, I want an animation that's got squares in it. So maybe I would have picked. So I just sort of searched for squares on here, see what I could find. Actually, I just saw one there. This is quite cool, isn't it? So we could sort of like come into here, and then it gives. You see how little code that is. So I wonder if I could. How do they change? So they're just cycling through hue values. So I guess mix. So color. So I could like make it. I could sort of offset the color by a bit. Yeah, like we can start to sort of like fiddle about with the colors, or make them darker, or like more. You know, you could sort of make it more sort of ugly. I'll make it more ugly by sort of taking out the. Yeah, sort of making it darker, or like change the. You know, sometimes some of these have like sort of magic numbers in them. So if I could change that to a 10. That seems to be putting it further apart. Oh, that's making it go faster. You know, you see you can sort of like fiddle about with these numbers and find out what happens. And then you can just like record. It's fun, isn't it? And then you can just record these directly in the browser, and it'll give you a WebM file, and you can sort of like bring that in and loop it. And the good thing about this is you can get a looping animation, and that's what I've done for my sequence there. And so there are other ways to animate with code as well. So you're not limited. This is so distracting. You're not limited to like CSS animations or even like shaders. There's a 3 Blue 1 Brown is a good YouTube channel, but he actually has open sourced the way he animates his stuff. And so I think code is a really cool way to do this stuff, and often a lot easier than like mucking about with a big video editing tool. But Keynote is probably actually the easiest way. So, and you can get really good results with it. And I just wanted to share this channel. This is Lydia Halley, who's doing this. She's only got like 3 videos on here, but it's
the event loop is a pretty notorious topic in JavaScript, but when
some really complex stuff.
It's component within the JavaScript runtime. We also have the call stack, we have web APIs, we have the task queue, micro task queue, and then eventually the event loop. Well, to be a little more technically accurate,
I'll sort of speed it up so we can sort of see a bit more of
the call stack,
a bit more of the animation, which is sort of what I'm bringing you here for. But I love how sort of. Sorry, I don't want to sort of get in the way of her, but like you see, like as she's talking through, she's sort of like bringing in all these things and sort of highlighting code and showing how things are coming in, and I just think it's a beautiful job of I think like also there's some taste here as well. Like look at these colors, look at the layout, look at like how orderly it looks. So clearly some and this to me, I think like the downside of Keynote is it is a designer tool, and it's very easy to make ugly stuff, but if you have a design eye, then it's you can make some pretty beautiful stuff. That said, I'm not going to show you anything that beautiful today when I give you my example. I just want to because this is like some hardcore how does the JavaScript engine work that I just had never seen, but yeah, like it really sort of went through all of this visually, and it's like great. So if you are interested in finding out how JavaScript actually runs, this is a great video to look at. But yeah, but what I'm going to show you. So yesterday I did my second TikTok of the new series that I've started, and it's had 4,000 views in the first day, which I'm pretty happy with. Lots of comments, lots of favorites, lots of likes. So obviously I'm doing something right, and that is all powered with the power of CueCam. Just being able to structure my thoughts really easily. I actually work in Apple Notes, paste that into CueCam, bring in stuff, and I wanted to do a little bit more funny stuff in this video and have little animations. I sort of woke up at 4 a.m. yesterday morning, like with the baby was awake, and I was just like, I was having ideas for this video, and I just thought like, well, let's just do it. So it's about bush robots and the transhuman condition, but I'll show you a little sequence from it. It has the magical power to conjure a birthday cake out of thin air, nano-constructing one up from carbon atoms available by flying it up with a swarm of microflyers. But once your friends, family and colleagues are all hyper-conscious robot bushes, we're back to thinking about how we set ourselves apart from each other and communicate. How do we express ourselves in this form? How do we signal our personality or intentions to other robot bushes? We need something else. There, now we can make eye contact. Or what about some cool new clothes? Okay, that's a pretty sexy robot bush now, I think you'll agree. So this was, this is like me mucking about. But I'm sort of making a larger point, but about sort of how complicated things aren't expressed. You can go and watch the TikTok if you want to see what my point is. But like that little animation, you see, I was able to sort of like deliver to camera. I'm using CueCam to sort of go through my script. I'm sort of pressing next to sort of continue the animation at the times, and we're starting to be able to get into comic now with all the fixes I've been making recently and optimizations. We're starting to get into the realm of comic timing, right? But before it was a bit like, oh, when's this transition going to go? But now like it's sort of getting snappy enough that you can just about sort of like do that, which I think is going to be a big deal. So I'm going to show you, so what are we looking at here? So I'm sharing Keynote now. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in Keynote, if I can find my Keynote window. Where is my Keynote window? Did I minimize it? Oh, it's just saying what document do you want. So if we go open recent. So really simple. Like this was so quick to do. I like really easy to do. Like, oh, wait, what happened? Am I sharing the thing? I think. Oh, it's my it was my teleprompter that it moved out the way. Right. So this is what my document looked like. So obviously, like it's a vertical format. So I sort of made a vertical format Keynote document. I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't. I actually in this one I sort of carried the background down by literally I just copied and pasted the thing. Like you can sort of get away with just sort of like rudimentary stuff if all you're doing is rendering out a video. So I just, how am I going to tile this? I'll just copy paste it a few times and make it bigger. But the birthday cake thing, so you can just drag in a video. So I thought maybe I'll sort of show you. I'll try and remember what I did. But if I make a new document, so it always makes you choose a theme. You can see I chose that one, but you can go document, you can go slide size, custom slide size. We're going to go 1080 by 1920, which is the sort of vertical video format. We're going to change the slide to be, not change theme. How do we change the slide type? I think we just like add a blank one. And then you can, sort of take, what I'll do is just copy. So I've got my picture, obviously, like, so I can bring that in. So here's my bush robot. And then, I found a little video, like a GIF. This is actually a GIF, so you can bring GIFs into Keynote, which is really handy. I need to figure out how to support them on CueCam as well. Is this like clipping? Well, why don't I come in a little bit so we're not going to clip and just take up a little bit more, use a little bit more space. Okay. So if we look at this, so what we can do, so I found a GIF, but I'm just going to copy this out of here and paste it onto here, and we can say we've got some different things. It's so good that I can see that I'm colliding with live with CueCam Presenter there. We can, so you've got your 3 tabs in Keynote, basically format, animate, document. So if we go to format, and then you get movie, and then you can sort of say, okay, I'm actually not going to start the movie on click, because the point here is we're going to export an animation. So we don't want to start the movie on click. We can actually trim it if we want, but I kind of wanted it to loop, just sort of come in, and then you can say animate, and you can have a build-in thing. And I was like, okay, well, we're assembling it from nanoparticles, so probably maybe confetti. Yeah, there we go. So it appears as a cloud of confetti. But there's all sorts of different things that you might want to try. I considered flame. I consider, it's sort of like you find something that tells the story, right? And the nice thing about, and it doesn't need to be sort of arbitrary. Like that, the thing with transitions and animations is if they can sort of represent the thing you're talking about, that's going to be infinitely better than just like some cheesy, like, oh, we're going to have a cube animation or something. But the nice thing is, we can select the confetti animation, and then I could say like, oh yeah, let's have gravity. And I think I thought I could change the direction. I guess I can't. So with no gravity, it looks like this. Yeah, it just comes from the middle. But with gravity, I was like, okay, cool. So, and the thing with Keynote is it's got very few controls. So you sort of like, if you sort of try and find a way to get it to sort of look roughly like what you want, it's not like you're working in After Effects where you can fine tune something perfectly, make the perfect, Avengers, Infinity War, dissolve animation or something like that. You're going to kind of get what you're given. And then like, something like this, just what did I do here? So just duplicate the slide, right click, duplicate, sort of paste in the next element. And we can, here I did like I did that, and then I just did a little pop animation for the eyes. So animate, build in, again, like change. I was looking at some different ones. We could have, some, different stuff. But in the end, I just thought like a little pop. And then something that can really bring an animation to life, like a really rudimentary animation can be brought to life with just a little bit of sound. So here I actually have a little, in the build, I actually have a sound effect. So if we listen to that, that's at the end, and then that's like the build animation. So what I use for that is, this is not going to show up necessarily. So I might have to just flip to the desktop when I need to do the thing where I can share multiple apps at the same time, because I'm going to be able to switch to Soundly, and then you're not going to be able to see Final Cut, or we can't have sound. So what I'll do is I'll just share Soundly instead. Share Soundly, please. Share. Maybe if we stop this share app, share Soundly. So Soundly, you can sort of go, okay, let's find some magic, and let's see what you've got. Maybe not. Like. And so you get quite a lot of free ones. So this is sort of where I come to for just like a free, like maybe you'd want that one. But you can just drag that and drag it, and then you can just drag that directly onto Keynote, which you can't see. Well, if I share my desktop, then you'll be able to see it, just you won't be able to hear anymore. But if I share my desktop, I come from Soundly, I can select the bit I want, preview it in here, drag it, and just drop it straight into Keynote. And now it's in Keynote, and I can, you can't hear that, but I can. If I go into Format, Audio, you can sort of trim the audio, you can have it like start automatically. And then the with transitions, this down here, there's Build Order, and that is your friend for just sort of doing sound effects particularly. So here we've got, let me just undo my last changes. So here I've said, what have I said? So here I've said at the same time play. Let's go back to sharing Keynote so that I can get the sound again. Let's just do that. Sorry, share. Oh no, I could have just pressed the button. Or could I? Let's just do it. What's happening? Sorry. There we go. Right. Oh. Yeah, I wish this was perfect. But it is not. Sorry, I'm like behind where I need to be. App. Okay, I'm sharing the window now, I guess. Okay. Back to Keynote. Build order. So here I've got everything sort of like starts at the same time. Well, here. Yeah, so I've said it plays us. I can't remember. Let me just remind myself how this works. Animate. How do I preview this slide? I'm worried about pressing play because it's going to... Oh, previews there. Right. Okay, so you see we've got that. and then we've got that. I'll just show you, like, I've got some different build orders. So you see here in this one, I've done like an animation where it zips off, and then another animation where it comes back on with a sound, which I wish I could hear. I don't know if you can hear. But yeah, so yeah, like, so the point is, like, once you've done all that, I also use it if I can't be bothered to fire up an image editor just to sort of make a little quick mock-up of something. Just it's sort of like a good way of showing that you're not trying too hard as well sometimes. But then you can then just go export to movie, and I've shown this before. Export to movie, and then just like remove all the gaps, because you don't need to have any gaps in there, because we're gonna pause it in CueCam. So the idea with this is we're gonna create our video file, which is gonna have, like, the slide is gonna have transition 1, and then we're gonna sort of pause, right? And then we're gonna have transition 2, and then we're gonna pause. So my first one is like, here's the birthday cake, right? And then here is googly eyes, right? Kinkly eyes. And then my third one is going to be like leather jacket, right? So I want to pause at each of these points. As my pencil battery just run out. So we're going to pause at each of these points so that it's in sync with me speaking, instead of just like a playing animation. If you just let an animation play on its own, then it's going to be really horrible trying to get that timing right. So sort of continuing on, I'll show you what that looks like now. But what I'm actually going to show you is what it looks like in the latest version that you don't quite have yet, even if you're on the beta. So the version that's going to come out on beta in a couple of days. So if I find, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my my robot bush document. So this is my script. So oh yeah, with also some rubbish when I was testing something. So I've got, let's talk about robot bushes, and this was a vertical video, so some of this stuff won't look quite right. But I've got all my different things that I want to show. But then when it comes to the animations, here's my animation, and if we go into trim, we can see this plays up to here. And then if we come to this one, we can see this plays from this point. So this is just like, this was supposed to be like a loop of the birthday cake going, but I don't think I really pulled it off. Luckily, I kind of moved through it pretty quickly. This one, yeah, so then the next bit is like the eyes appearing. So I'm able to sort of like finish this and then sort of come into this, and it just like, it plays the right bit of the video at the right time. So we can just kind of like put it together on a timeline like that. And I'll just show you like the easy way how easy that is to do, because you could just like use the trim feature and trim them manually. But what we could also do is, so first feature, so I'm going to make a new document, but first I'm going to show you, if you click doc up here, you can click you can see all the files that are embedded in it. So we can find that robot bush M4V and just click on the magnifying glass next to that to see where the file is. But then back in CueCam, we'll just make a new document, and I will grab that file and drag it on. I'm just going to hold Alt because it's already sort of converted. So if I hold Alt, I can embed without converting. Or you could just drop it and re-encode it. That's fine. I think it starts because it's compressed. It's going to get a little bit worse each time, like a VHS tape. But so what we can do here is sort of find the point, so we can play it. You won't be able to hear that, but like play it up to where we want it to pause. The thing I wish I'd achieved was the candle looping, but I didn't manage it. I spent like 4 hours on that video yesterday, which wasn't too bad. So we get there and we say, okay, right, I want to finish, I finished saying this bit, nano constructing cup. So it's, I've got this bit of script. So what is happening? So like this bit of script is up to here, right? And then I want to go robot bush, right? So at this point, let's just split it. And now we've got a new card, which is split from that point. And then probably what I'd do is go, okay, once that's appeared, that's where the cake starts disappearing. So we'll do another split there. And now we'll kind of wait for the cake to be gone, and then maybe just sort of like let that go for a little bit. But what I ended up with this was like, okay, the cake's gone. Let's just like let's split it here. But then let's just it took a bit long for the leather jacket to appear, so I just sort of trimmed it a bit closer so that sort of I could press the button and it would immediately play. So this way you can sort of like just split the videos across a few cards so that it like has the rhythm of your speech, of how you're talking, and you like everything in CueCam, you're just hitting that start, the big pink button to kind of go over to the next thing. And the only actually one of the things that took the longest was was this thing going on around me. Food is a flexible and sometimes delicious power source, but the waste products can be a bit messy.
Speak for yourself.
The robot bush takes hyper-individualism to its limit without any idea. Okay, so that was just, like throwing a meme. So the thing with that, I looked up Speak for Yourself and I was like, hey, David Rose, that's a good one. But it was just a GIF with no sound and I wanted the sound. And so, like an hour later, I finally got this GIF with the sound because I couldn't figure it out. In the end, I went, oh, actually, like I'll ask Reddit. Maybe I can put the GIF in Reddit and ask Reddit if anyone knows which episode this comes from. Then I asked ChatGPT. I said, I pasted it in and said, do you know which episode? And then ChatGPT very confidently gave me an episode number and title. And I was like, oh, amazing. And then I went to the episode and it was not in that episode. And then I went, are you sure about that? And ChatGPT went, no, it's actually in this episode at this time. And so I went to that episode. It's not in that. And then I was like, what I need to do is search scripts for that line. And so I found this really horrible ad-ridden website full of like scripts for Schitt's Creek. And I sort of pasted the link to it into ChatGPT and said, can you find it on this website? And just sort of left that running. And then I was like, I wonder what's on here. And then just by coincidence, the first one I clicked on happened to be the right script. So I found the episode. But then when you can't screen record Netflix, because like the Mac, they cooperate, like the browser sort of turns off the visuals if you're screen recording. So I could have just used the original GIF, but it was all watermarked. But I just went next door and sort of filmed my TV, sort of went to it on the TV in the living room and just filmed it with my phone. But then the sound was really bad. So then I did sort of do a screen capture of Netflix on my Mac just to get the audio. And then I went to Final Cut and lined up the audio with the video. And it was like, it was a lot to just to get that stupid little joke in there. But, this is what happens when you've if you start from the vision, if you start from the script, if you start from what you want it to be rather than what you have lying around, it gives you a chance to actually like have a vision of something that might be a bit funny, and then a little bit more motivation to kind of pull your hair out trying to find the little asset that you need. And what I'm finding is that the timing, a little bit of comic timing, it takes a bit of practice, but I mean, and I'll admit, like, the first one of these TikToks I did, I literally just took one take and pretty much used it as is. This one, I had a few more like false starts and problems in the middle. So I sort of ended up having to sort of trim out some stuff. And then I ended up doing a few, like a bit more massaging, the odd J cut, the odd L cut, just to sort of like speed things along a little bit and make it a bit punchier. But it's still I think just having that one long video file out of CueCam with all this stuff already in place, and all I've got to do is just like tighten it up, is so much less than, I'll put that in post, I'll put that in post, I'll do that in post, I'll do that in post, and you don't even know if it's going to work, and then you've already filmed yourself, and this way you can sort of see if it's going to work in the moment. And because I thought like that GIF bit, it seemed a bit subdued when I found the audio for it, but then actually when it was in context it was perfect, so I was like, okay, perfect. So that is what I have for animations. It is 2:45, so I think that's pretty good timing. So I'm going to, now that we've done that, we've got the first time for a new regular segment. It is Break the Fourth Wall time. So what we're going to do... Oh, Lord. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is the script that I just ran through. How's that for meta? So I'm using CueCam for all this. So this is what my script looks like. So I'm in demo mode now. So I'm just going to show you how my live stream works. And then as we get closer to time, we're in the breakout room now. Oh, this clock is going to keep going now, isn't it? So if I just stop and start again. And now you will see these animations. This is actually something you don't really get. Is I've got like some design systems which you don't have yet, but yeah, because they're a bit buggy still. You see the edges, but I like having some transitions, and I've been thinking about what I want. And then if I'm just going to come back to the dashboard, pause the music. So what I've got here is, when I come in, I've got my little cold open, which has a music attachment where I just have this loop here. So that just plays some music. It sort of starts immediately. I have the title, of what I'm talking about, and then I do myself a quick, what am I going to say? And then I was actually planning on putting a snippet of video in there and I forgot. And then I've got my little ident, which looks like that. And if I just stop, okay, I just want to stop. Right. So this ident, it's a really short. I used to have a much longer ident, and I just thought that you don't need a long one. But it's got sound, and it's just set to go to next card when you get to the end. Playback speed, not too loud. So that just plays once through, and then comes to this card, which has another music loop, which I just made in like Reason or something. And then it's got my title. I always update the thing. I've got the thing I always say here, and then just a little note, I will be upset. And then, here's something, here's me, here's like a video that comes in. And then this, so what you'll see here is, so if we come onto this card, so we've got the music loop. That's just going to keep playing between cards until either it ends, but it's not going to end because it's a loop, or we hit a stop. And so this is a 5-second fade on this card. So it just starts when we land on this card, and we can sort of get into the updates. So that's how that works. And then updates, and then I shared Discord this week, so that goes to share the Discord window. And then I've got my little Harvey animation. Actually, what I did here is this. I've now got like zooming. That was a bit weird. I can zoom in a little bit, and and with that, I just trimmed it to sort of my favorite bit of that video. So it just starts there. And then, come into animation. And then I've got my little sections, Apple, After Effects. So you see like everything I was saying, I planned out, brought in some screenshots that I wanted to show, sort of jumped in. That was a bit abrupt, but we sort of jump into the demo video. Talk about CS animation. I had my video embedded in the script there, my little thing there. CSS SVGs, another screenshot. So I just took a screen recording of Sketch and VS Code and just put that in, and that's just in there. And then you can see we can sort of toggle picture in picture down here. But so I brought that in. Then we went into, this is going to be weird. So I shared Arc with a link, so it just jumps to that website. Then I shared Arc with another link. I think that one didn't work for some reason. Was that Shader Toy? Yeah. Then I had my Keynote section, and then I went to share Arc and showed that YouTube channel that I talked about. Is that what's going to happen here? I think demo mode makes screen sharing go funny. So like when I'm showing those ones. So, and then I showed my little birthday cake sequence, and that sort of like this one again. I trimmed it out of the longer video just to get the bit I wanted. I didn't like trim it externally because I thought I might want to do some other stuff. I share the Keynote window and just sort of make some notes for myself about what I'm going to say, like, okay, remind myself, open the robot bush CueCam doc, and then show how to find the files. Then we like start a new doc to demonstrate, and then I sort of showed that little comic type. I sort of wanted to show the thing, and then I sort of had a little thing to say about that. And then we got to the this break the fourth wall bit. It's got a bit of music that I just recorded on the deluge, so it's going to be the same deluge thing. And I just found this random bit of like I went on Pexels and like looked for breaking things and found this person smashing a wall, and I just I just put it up to 16 speed, so that just to make it a bit funnier. And then and then we're here, enter demo mode, talk about it. And so that, if we press play on here, is going to exit demo mode. Comments, questions, what have you got for me, if anything? Let me see if I've missed anything on here. Ree Anderson says, gosh, he sure is, isn't he, that baby? He's 6 months yesterday, actually, 6 months old. He's had a little bit of sweet potato now and a little bit of apple. He's not sure about sweet potato. He seems to like the apple a bit more. But yeah, if there's no questions... Oh, look, I fixed that thing where it made the links go blue, so I don't need to put spaces in. Here is where we hang out, squarestv.com/discord. That takes you to the right Discord channel. That's where we hang out and where you can get help on things when I'm asleep. And that seems to be happening a lot more. This week we're going to just do a little bit of a deluge sesh. I'm going to try and keep it short because we've been 50 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your attention. I know there's a lot of things fighting for your attention, and so I try to make this worth coming to each week. And I'm even thinking like some of this stuff, bits and bobs, I may have covered in the past, but it may have been with like a glitchy version of CueCam. So I think like just even if I'm repeating myself, I feel like I'm repeating myself sometimes. I think it's probably good that we're kind of going back over that stuff because sometimes it's good to just hear it again anyway. And because we're always live, I guess it keeps the delivery fresh, and I've always got some new content to show. But yeah, let's see if this is going to work and like have a little bit of overhead camera time. Hey, look at that. It was just waiting patiently. So we've got the deluge. It seems to be like green. Is the white balance? Yeah, the white balance has gone funny. But now, sorry, I'm just going to adjust. I'm just going to go into shoot and adjust the, adjust the brightness a bit to make it look a bit cooler. So I just did that from CueCam. And make sure that the Evo is plugged in. And then let's see, put my headphones on, make sure that I am picture in picture, which I don't seem to be. Let me just do that on the card, I guess. Where is my picture in picture? Yeah, there we go. I'm picture in picture, put my headphones on, and let's see what happens when we press the buttons. Shall we? And I still haven't made my little fade out knob for this thing because there's been so much other work to do on CueCam, but soon I will have it. Thank you. Goodbye and good night.